Hey everyone, it's me, Miss Dark Shigo here, and today we are going to be reviewing a 1992 film called, Muppet Christmas Carol. Now, this movie came out in 1992. It's pretty much the adapting version of the Muppets of the Christmas Carol story by Charles Dickens. However, this one is like a Muppet adaptation of this film. Now, I know there was a few adaptations of the Christmas Carol, but this one by the Muppets is my favorite. So, this one is the first Muppet film to be made after Jim Henson passed away, as well as Richard Hunt. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started with, this movie. So, this movie was the first Muppets film to be produced by Walt Disney Pictures, whose parent company would later acquire the rights to the Muppet characters and assets later on in 2004. So, as a kid, I remember watching this movie every holiday season. It's been one of my favorite Muppet movies, along with a couple others, but this one definitely is one of the best ones I've ever seen. There's a few other Muppet Christmas movies like Muppet Family Christmas, etc. But along with that one being good, this one was one of my favorites. So basically, this takes place on Christmas Eve in, the 19th century in London. So, of course, we have Gonzo, who's played the role of Charles Dickens, and Rizzo, who is his friend. They address the audiences as narrators, telling the story about the main character, played by Michael Caine, Ebenezer Scrooge, who is pretty much cold hearted, grumpy, selfish moneylender, does not have the merit on Christmas. When his nephew Fred invites him for Christmas dinner, he rejects it and dismisses the two gentlemen collecting money for charity. So he pretty much has been only care of his money. So of course Bob Cratchit, another bookkeeper, requests to take Christmas Day off, since there will be no business for Scrooge on the day. So he agrees with that. When Scrooge leaves home while the others just celebrate Christmas, he encounters the shackling ghosts of the late business partners, Rob and Robert Marley, who is played by Stalder and Waldorf. Pretty much, they had told him that he'd be visiting free spirits of Christmas, past, future, present, and they did tell Ebenezer Scrooge that he needs to change his ways or the consequences of what happened will happen. So, fast forward to around 1 o'clock, Scrooge gets visited by a childlike ghost of the Christmas past who takes him back in time to pretty much his childhood and early adult life. Of course, that's when Gonzo and Rizzo hitches a ride too. They visit his lonely school days, and as an employee following under Fozziwig, or Mr. Frizzywink in the original story, who's played by Fozzie Bear, who owned a rubber chicken factory. So Fozziwig and his mother-in-law throw a Christmas party where Scrooge meets a young woman named Belle, who he later falls in love. However, the ghost shows Scrooge how Belle left him after he chose money over her. So he had became more of a Scrooge over money than how he was when he was with Belle at the time. So, of course, 2 o'clock, Scrooge meets a gigantic merry ghost of Christmas present, which is just the one that's going to happen this year, who shows him the joys and wonders of Christmas Day. And that's when Scrooge visits, with the ghost Fred's house, where Scrooge is made fun of for his stinginess as well as general ill will towards everyone. Scrooge then tells the spirit that they visit Bob Cratchit's house, learning that the family is content with their small dinner, but Scrooge also feels bad that Bob's little son Tiny Tim was really sick. However, the ghost of Christmas present abruptly ages, commenting that Tiny Tim will likely die before next Christmas if Scrooge doesn't change his ways. So Scrooge and the ghost go to the cemetery where the ghost of Christmas future shows up. And he appears to Scrooge as tall and silent as a cloaked figure. Of course, Scrooge was taken into the future, and that's when he sees, about a group of businessmen discussing the death of an unnamed colleague, saying that they would only attend to a funeral if lunch was provided. However, in a den, Scrooge sees a charwoman with a laundress and a local caretaker trading several stolen possessions of a deceased to an old fence named Old Joe. So of course, that's when Scrooge goes to Bob's house, revealing that Tiny Tim has died, and the Cratchits are mourning him. So Scrooge gets escorted back to the cemetery, and that's when the ghost points out his neglected grave, revealing it was him, the man who died. So of course, Scrooge, finally says, "Okay, okay, I'm gonna change this time." That gives him, wake up calls. So on Christmas Day, Scrooge decides to surprise Bob and his family with a turkey dinner and ventures out with Bean, Dickens, and Rizzo, and the charity workers to spread happiness and joy. So pretty much at the end of the film, he eventually changes his ways. What did I think of this story? Well, this was honestly a really good film. I personally really liked it. I thought it was well made in detail. It's such a great movie. Now, I could definitely say right now that this one was definitely one of the best films that I've ever seen. Now, of course, we do have Michael Caine, who is basically 90 right now. He actually was in this film, who played as Ebenezer Scrooge, which he did a great job. We do have some other actors in there, and we do have some Muppet performers. It was such a great film. I personally remember watching this, whenever it came on Christmas time. I still have this on DVD somewhere, and I remember used to watch this on DVD when I was a kid. It was one of my favorite Muppet movies, alongside with the Muppet movie and Treasure Island. This one is definitely a pretty good Muppet Christmas Carol, and I personally really thought it was a really cute movie too, involving, the Muppets. This is one of the best adaptations of Muppets I had ever seen. Even though this came out in like the early 90s, a lot of people would remember watching this movie. If I bring up a Muppet Christmas movie, it definitely would be this one. And that's when a lot of people would say, "Oh yeah, I remember that." I mean, a lot of people in the 90s remember watching this film when they were kids, and adults can like this movie too. I mean, this is a movie that a lot of people would definitely enjoy. I recommend anyone who has not seen this movie, you got to see this movie. This is such a great film. It's got good songs, it's got good acting. It's just a really cute film involving the Muppets, because it's just a really cute, cool movie. If you want to watch something that is, made in the 90s, and even at Christmas time, you definitely have to check out this movie, because this movie is flat out amazing. It is really awesome. I love this movie. This movie is actually one of my favorites. And this is perfect to watch it at this time of the year when it's the holidays. I personally really like that. So, anyways, what did I personally think of this movie? Well, for one, it's a childhood favorite because I watched Muppets as a kid, and this movie is definitely one of my favorites. I personally really like this movie. I really have to say it's a really good one involving the Muppets. I personally really enjoyed how this film plotline goes well. It's such a great film. I really enjoy how well made this film really is. But I mean, it's got good actors and got good Muppet performers, and it's got a really good plot line, and it's pretty good based on the actual Christmas Carol story that was written in I think 45. I could be wrong, but it's around that timeline where that story was made. It's a great adaptation. I was expecting, Muppets to maybe do one of Beauty and the Beast or Aladdin or something, but I don't know if they'll ever do that, but I really do hope they do, because honestly, that would have been really awesome, because they did one on The Wizard of Oz, and they did one on this movie, they did one on Treasure Island, so I think they could do maybe an Aladdin one or a Beauty and the Beast one if they wanted to, but this one is definitely one of my favorites, I would say. If you guys were to ask me which movie's my favorite, it would have to be this one. So, I guess with that being said, and that being the case, that's pretty much all I have to really say. But if I am missing something about this movie, let me know in the comments below, because I think I've covered everything. And anyways, let's get right into our score. So, Muppet Christmas Carol was a really great movie. So, what do I have to give it? Well, I'm definitely going to give it pretty much a 10 out of 10. A really great Muppet movie. It's really well made in detail. I personally like the film. It's really cute. I really have to say it's a really good film. It's well made in detail. I really enjoyed it. It was pretty good for what this film is. It's well made. It's great. It's like it's a pretty good film. I mean, I recommend it for to anybody who wants to see it. You guys really have to check it out if you haven't. You will not be disappointed, not even one bit. So, I guess that's pretty much all I have to really say, but if I am missing something, please let me know what it is in the comments below because I think I've covered everything. So, yeah. Anyways, with that being the case and with that being said, what did you guys personally think of this movie? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm the Lion Queen. I want to thank you so much for watching today's video. And if you're new to my channel, be sure to leave a like. Well, I know I said Lion Queen, but I'm also known as, well, Miss Dark Shigo. Please leave a like on this video if you haven't. Subscribe to this channel if you're new. Comment if you're new and stuff. And also, be sure to like, my main channel, which is the Lion Queen. I'm mainly active on this one, so if you're not subbed to that one, I suggest you do so. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you all next time.